be me, 22-year-old woman in senior year of college, sitting in the campus coffee shop, working on my sociology paper about intersectionality and dating culture. Feel pretty good about myself because I've been really active in campus discussions lately. Not one of those cringe activists everyone makes fun of online. Just someone who actually cares about equality and calls out injustice when I see it. My paper is arguing that dating apps have created new forms of commodification that disproportionately affect women. Been collecting data from my friends about their experiences with harassment on Tinder and Bumble. The numbers are honestly staggering. Every single woman I know has stories about aggressive messages, dick pics, guys who won't take no for an answer. This is important work, and I'm proud to be documenting it. Notice Daniel walk in and order his usual black coffee. Daniel works in the IT department on campus, has been here for like 4 years. Nice enough guy, always polite when we interact at campus events. He volunteers for the student tech help desk and fixes people's laptops for free. We've been friendly acquaintances since my freshman year. He's part of this loose friend group that hangs out sometimes. Never really thought much about him, honestly. He's just kind of there, you know? Average height, average build, dresses okay, has a stable job. Not ugly, but not someone who makes you do a double take. The kind of person who blends into the background of life. He walks over and asks if he can sit down. Sure, whatever, I could use a break anyway. We chat about normal stuff for a bit. His day at work, my classes, some campus drama. Then he sees my laptop screen with my paper title visible. His expression changes slightly. Not angry, just something I can't quite read. He's quiet for a moment, stirring his coffee. Then he says something that surprises me. Tells me he's been wanting to talk to me about something for years, but never felt like it was his place. Says he's always respected my perspective and advocacy work. But there's something about modern dating that he doesn't think I understand. Immediately, I feel myself getting a little defensive. Another guy about to explain the world to me, great. But he puts his hand up gently. Says he knows how it sounds and he's not trying to dismiss anything I've experienced. Says he believes everything I've documented about women's experiences. The harassment is real. The safety concerns are real. All of it. But there's another side to this that never gets talked about. And he's tired of staying silent about it. Okay, I think, let's hear this. I pride myself on listening to different perspectives, even when they're wrong. Daniel takes a breath and starts explaining his dating life. Been on every app for the past 6 years. Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, OkCupid, Coffee Meets Bagel, even tried some of the paid ones. Spent actual money on premium features, professional photos, profile reviews, not a single long-term relationship from any of it. I'm thinking, okay, that's rough, but lots of people struggle with online dating. Then he starts getting into specifics, tells me about the numbers. In 6 years of active usage, roughly 2,000 plus right swipes on Tinder alone, maybe 30 matches total. So, one of those 30 matches, maybe 10 responded to his first message. Of those 10, maybe 3 conversations lasted more than 5 exchanges. 0 dates from any of them. Similar ratios across all platforms. He's kept track because he started thinking something must be wrong with him. Wanted to quantify it to figure out what to fix. I'm listening, but still skeptical. Maybe his profile just sucks. Maybe he's coming on too strong in messages. He pulls out his phone and shows me. His profile is actually fine. Normal photos, him hiking, him at a friend's wedding, him with his dog. His bio is brief but charming. Mentions his job and hobbies. Nothing creepy, nothing aggressive, nothing weird. Shows me his message. History. His opening lines are thoughtful, usually reference something in their profile. Not, hey, beautiful, or anything gross. Actual conversation starters. The women just don't respond. Or if they do, they give one-word answers until the conversation dies. He's not bitter about it in his tone, just matter of fact. Like he's presenting data, which I guess he is. Then he tells me about the offline stuff. Over the same 6-year period, he's developed feelings for 5 different women in his social circles. Made his intentions clear early on, asked them out directly. Used actual words like, I'd like to take you on a date, so there was no confusion. Not that cowardly, let's hang out sometime ambiguity that guys do. All 5 said some version of, I like you, but just as a friend. All 5 of those same women later dated guys from the same social circles. Guys he knows personally. He's not saying this with anger. Just this tired resignation describes the guys. One of them cheated on his last 3 girlfriends. Everyone knows this. Another one openly talks about women in degrading ways when they're not around. Another one is unemployed and borrows money from his girlfriends regularly. Another has anger issues and punched a wall during an argument at a party. These are the guys getting chosen over him. I want to interrupt and say that's just anecdotal, but something stops me. He's not done. Tells me about Sarah from his gaming group. They were close friends for 8 months. She constantly complained to him about her boyfriend Jake. Jake who forgot her birthday. Jake who wouldn't commit. Jake who kept her a secret from his friends. Daniel listened, gave advice, was supportive. Thought maybe when she finally broke up with Jake, there might be a chance. Asked her out 2 months after her breakup. Got the, you're such a good friend, I don't want to ruin that speech. 3 weeks later, she was back with Jake. They're still together now. She still complains to Daniel about him. Tells me about Emma from his volunteer work at the animal shelter. They bonded over their shared love of dogs, worked together every Saturday for a year. She talked about how she wanted a guy who was kind to animals, who volunteered, who had his life together. Daniel checked every box, asked her to dinner, very straightforward about his interest. She said she wasn't looking for anything right now. 2 weeks later, she was Instagram official with some guy she met at a bar. Guy's entire profile was gym selfies and quotes about his grind set. Within 3 months, Emma was posting vague, sad posts about being unappreciated. They broke up. She dated another similar guy right after. Daniel is telling me all this and his voice never rises. He's not calling these women shallow or stupid. He's not saying they owed him anything. He's just presenting pattern after pattern. I'm starting to feel uncomfortable, but I can't articulate why, he continues. Tells me about the advice he's gotten over the years. Just be yourself. He was. Didn't work. Join activities where you'll meet people. He did. Became the friend. Work on yourself first. He has a good job, hobbies, takes care of himself, goes to therapy. Confidence is key. He asked women out directly. Stated his intentions clearly. That's confident. Maybe you're trying too hard. So he backed off and nothing changed except now he's also passive. Every piece of conventional wisdom failed. Then he tells me what he's observed working. His friend Tyler, who works in sales, does well on dating apps. Tyler's profile is shirtless bathroom selfies, and his bio is literally just his height and a punny pickup line. Tyler gets matches constantly, goes on multiple dates per week. Tyler also ghosts women regularly, juggles multiple women without telling them, and openly says he's not looking for anything serious. Women keep matching with him, keep giving him chances, keep sleeping with him. Daniel's friend Derek is similar. Derek makes less money than Daniel, still lives with roommates at 28, works part-time, but Derek is pushy in a way that apparently works. Doesn't take no for an answer, but like in a persistent way that women seem to interpret as romantic. Turns every friendship into flirtation even when women say they're not interested. Wears them down until they agree to a date. I has had multiple relationships this way. I want to say, that's not persistence, that's harassment. But Daniel gently points out that these women dated Derek willingly for months, posted cute couple photos, introduced him to their parents, said they loved him, so clearly they didn't feel harassed. Clearly something about his approach worked. I'm struggling to formulate a counter-argument. Daniel tells me about attending a friend's birthday party last year. There was a woman there, Amy, visiting from out of town. They hit it off, talked for hours about books and travel. He thought maybe this was finally it. Asked if she wanted to get breakfast the next morning before she left town. She said she had an early flight, but it was so nice meeting him. Gave him a hug, said to look her up if he was ever in her city. One of the other guys at the party, Chad, actually named Chad, also talked to Amy that night. Chad's conversation topics were mostly about himself, his crypto investments, his CrossFit routine. Daniel saw Chad get Amy's number, saw them making out in the corner an hour later. Checked Instagram later and saw Amy posted a story from Chad's apartment the next morning. so she didn't have an early flight. She just wasn't interested in Daniel, which is fine. People have preferences. But Daniel notes that Amy had earlier in the night talked about wanting to meet a guy who actually reads books and has depth. Chad's entire personality is cryptocurrency and working out. The gap between stated preference and revealed preference. I'm really uncomfortable now because I can feel where this is going. Daniel isn't done though. Tells me about joining Bumble specifically because women message first, thought that would filter for women who were actually interested. In 2 years on Bumble, maybe 15 matches. Of those, 8 women opened with just, hey, which is fine. He carried the conversation. But he notes the irony since women always complain about men opening with hey. Of the remaining 7, all conversations died within a day. Women just stopped responding, mid-conversation. He'd say something normal, ask a follow-up question, and just get ghosted. No explanation. No, not feeling it, just silence. He started wondering if he was boring. But he's had plenty of women in his life tell him he's a great conversationalist, just apparently not in a dating context. Then Daniel says something that really gets under my skin. Says he's noticed that the women most vocal about wanting nice, emotionally available, communicative men are often the same women consistently dating men who are none of those things. Says he's watched me specifically over the years. I've been pretty public about my relationship history, posted about it, talked about it in group settings. My ex-boyfriend from sophomore year, who I was obsessed with, the one who was emotionally unavailable and afraid of commitment, the one I spent a year trying to fix. Daniel was in our friend group that whole year. Watched me cry about that guy repeatedly. Then my junior year relationship with that older guy who was so complicated. Complicated because he was still texting his ex. I posted all about it, processed it publicly. Daniel saw all of it. He's not saying this to hurt me, but I feel attacked anyway. He points out that during both of those relationships, he was right there. Single, stable, emotionally available. Not saying I owed him a chance, but asking me to consider the pattern. I loudly advocated for the kind of man I was supposedly looking for, while actively choosing men who were the opposite. And he's seen this pattern with so many women he knows. They write no fuckboys in their bios while swiping left on guys like him and right on shirtless mirror selfies. They say they want communication while rewarding guys who play hard to get. They say they want emotional availability while getting obsessed with distant, aloof men. They say they want feminism and equality while being most attracted to traditionally hypermasculine, dominant guys. I finally find my voice and try to argue. Tell him that women are conditioned by the patriarchy to desire these things, that we're taught to want dominant men, that it's socialization. Daniel nods and says he's considered that. But at what point does understanding the cause not change the effect? He's still the one alone. The emotionally unavailable jerks are still the ones getting dates, sex, relationships. Understanding why it happens doesn't make it not happen, doesn't make it hurt less, doesn't make him less lonely. I try another angle, say that maybe women choose these guys because they're more confident, that confidence is attractive and it's not about being a jerk. The jerks just happen to be confident. Daniel asks if I really believe that. Asks if I think he lacks confidence when he directly asks women on dates, when he clearly states his intentions, when he puts himself out there over and over despite constant rejection. That takes confidence, maybe more than the cocky guys have. The cocky guys have never been rejected enough to need real confidence. They're running on unearned arrogance. He's built actual resilience and self-worth despite the feedback loop telling him he's worthless. Which one is real confidence? I'm quiet because he's got a point I hadn't considered. He keeps going. Talks about the math of dating apps. Says he's read the studies, knows the statistics. Top 10% of men get the majority of matches from women. Women rate 80% of men as below average in attractiveness. Men's ratings of women follow an actual bell curve, but women's ratings of men are severely skewed. Average guys like him are functionally invisible on apps. Meanwhile, average women get hundreds of matches. I want to say that's because women are more selective, which is good actually. But he points out what that selectivity is selecting for. not kindness, not compatibility, not shared values. Mostly height, facial structure, and the ability to take a good shirtless photo. Then those women match with those top-tier guys. Guys who have infinite options. Guys who have no incentive to commit or treat anyone well. And women get hurt by those guys and complain about how all men are trash. While guys like Daniel can't even get a conversation going. He's not saying this is women's fault exactly, but he's saying there's a collective action problem nobody wants to acknowledge. I bring up safety. Say that women have to be selective because of safety concerns. I have to filter heavily because of harassment and danger. Daniel agrees. Completely. Says that's valid and he's never questioned it. But he asks how matching with the aggressive, cocky, boundary-pushing guys is the safe choice. How is the guy who won't take no for an answer, who's pushy and dominant, the safer option? How is the guy who projects aggression and masculinity less dangerous than him? He's never been aggressive, never pushed boundaries, never made anyone uncomfortable. He's the safest possible option. But he's the one getting filtered out. So it can't actually be about safety, or not just about safety. There's something else that women are selecting for. Something they don't want to admit they're selecting for. Maybe because it contradicts the values they claim to hold. I'm feeling genuinely shaken now, not because he's being mean or aggressive. It's literally the opposite. He's being so calm and reasonable and presenting things I don't have good answers for. Try to say that he's probably just not meeting the right women, that the right person will appreciate him. He smiles sadly and says people have been telling him that for 6 years. At what point is it not about finding the right person? At what point is it a systemic pattern? If it was just him, fine, he's the problem. But he's talked to so many guys in the same situation. Normal, decent guys with jobs and hobbies and kindness. All functionally invisible to women in dating contexts. All watching the same types of guys succeed over and over. All getting the same advice that doesn't work. All being told they're not owed anything, which is true. But also all being gaslit into thinking there's no pattern. That it's all in their heads. That if they were just better somehow, it would work. Daniel tells me about his therapist. He's been in therapy for 3 years, weekly sessions. Brought up his dating struggles early on. His therapist, a woman, told him he needed to work on his self-esteem, suggested his lack of success was due to putting out desperate energy. So he worked on himself, genuinely. Got to a place where he was happy single, had fulfilling friendships and hobbies, felt good about himself, independent of dating. His therapist praised his progress. He tried dating again from this new, healthy place. Same results, 0 success. Brought it back to therapy, confused. His therapist suggested maybe he was subconsciously self-sabotaging. So he examined that, really dug deep, couldn't find any evidence of it. He was doing everything right, according to every resource available. His therapist eventually just stopped knowing what to tell him. Kind of implicitly acknowledged that sometimes people just have bad luck. But it's not luck, Daniel says. It's a pattern. It's systemic. It's predictable. Guys like him get filtered out early and often. Not because of anything they're doing wrong, but because of what they're not. They're not exciting, not dangerous, not a challenge to win over. They're available, interested, and kind, which apparently is boring. I'm trying to think of counter-arguments, but my mind is blanking. Everything I want to say feels hollow. Not all women, but enough that the pattern is clear. Work on yourself. He has. It didn't matter. Confidence is key. He's literally asking women out directly. That's confident. You're not owed anything. He's never said he was. He's just observing patterns. Daniel can see I'm struggling, tells me he's not trying to make me feel bad. He's just tired of this never being part of the conversation. Tired of women's dating struggles being valid topics of discussion, while men's dating struggles are dismissed as entitlement. Tired of being told he needs to do better when he's doing everything he can think of. Tired of watching women say they want one thing and consistently choose another. Tired of the gaslighting that comes when he points out the discrepancy. He's not angry at women. He's not becoming a misogynist or joining some weird online community. He's just sad and lonely and wanted someone to actually hear him. Wanted me specifically to hear him because I'm always talking about listening to marginalized voices, about believing people's lived experiences, about how impact matters more than intent. So here's his lived experience. Here's the impact of women's collective dating choices on guys like him. And he wants to know if I believe him the way I'd believe a woman describing her experiences. I don't know what to say, literally speechless. I've built so much of my identity around being someone who listens, who gets it, who's on the right side, but I've never once considered this perspective. Never thought about the nice guys as maybe having an actual point underneath the entitlement. Daniel isn't entitled, he's not demanding anything. He's just describing a reality that I've been completely blind to. But worse, I've been actively participating in it. Every guy I've dated has been exactly the type Daniel is describing. Emotionally unavailable, inconsistent, exciting in that unstable way. I've friend-zoned multiple guys who were probably in Daniel's position, told myself I just didn't feel that spark. I never examined what the spark actually was. Never questioned why I felt it for red flags and not green flags. Daniel finishes his coffee, tells me he said what he needed to say, hopes it doesn't make things weird between us. He values my friendship and isn't trying to make some move here. He's actually seeing someone now, met her through a hobby group. She approached him, which apparently is the only way it ever works for guys like him. He's happy about that. But he wanted to say this stuff anyway because it needs to be said. Women need to hear it from someone who isn't angry or bitter, from someone who's genuinely kind and means well. Because maybe then it'll actually be heard. He gets up, throws away his cup, waves goodbye, leaves me sitting there with my laptop and my half-finished paper. My paper about how dating apps harm women. Which is true, they do, but suddenly feels incomplete, like I've been writing about one side of a coin and insisting the other side doesn't exist. I sit there for probably an hour not moving. My mind is racing through every dating decision I've ever made, every guy I've rejected and why, every guy I've pursued and why. The patterns are so obvious now that I'm looking for them. I've always been attracted to guys who seem just out of reach, who don't text back right away, who are ambiguous about their feelings, who have other options, and make sure I know it. Told myself it was about chemistry and attraction, that you can't force feelings, which is true, but also maybe not the whole truth. Maybe I've been conditioned to associate anxiety with attraction, to mistake emotional unavailability for mystery, to interpret inconsistency as excitement. And the guys who were consistent, available, and clear, I found them boring, didn't even give them a chance, and told myself I wasn't feeling it, and moved on. I think about all the conversations I've had with my girlfriends, how we all complain about fuckboys while actively swiping right on them, how we say we want nice guys, but go silent when actual nice guys message us, how we friend zone men who are kind and chase men who are cold, how we've built an entire vocabulary around this, situationships, breadcrumbing, benching, problems that only exist because we keep engaging with men who create them, while ignoring men who wouldn't. I feel sick. Not because Daniel was mean, or because I owe him specifically anything, but because my entire framework for understanding dating has cracks in it I never noticed. I've been so focused on women as victims in dating, which we often are, that I never considered the ways women also have power and agency in dating, the ways our choices collectively create patterns and incentive structures, the way we might be saying one thing and doing another. I open my paper and read through what I've written. It's not wrong exactly. Women do face harassment on dating apps, but women do have to worry about safety in ways men don't. All my data is accurate, but it's incomplete. It's missing the perspective Daniel just gave me. The invisible men who never get to the point of harassing anyone because they can't even get matches. The kind men who are filtered out before they get a chance to be kind. The pattern of decent guys being systematically rejected while jerks get infinite chances. I don't know how to incorporate this into my worldview. It contradicts things I've been saying loudly for years. I've definitely made posts about how nice guys are just manipulative, how if you have to say you're nice, you're not, how Women don't owe you anything for basic decency, all of which is true for the entitled assholes. But what about the actual nice guys like Daniel who aren't saying they're nice, who aren't demanding anything, who are just quietly being decent and going unnoticed? How do I reconcile this? I think about my online presence, my Twitter, where I quote tweet bad dating app messages from guys, my Instagram, where I post about toxic masculinity, my participation in conversations about how men need to do better. None of it is wrong, but it's also not the complete picture. There are men doing better, being better, and they're not being rewarded for it. They're being ignored for it. The same energy I put into calling out bad male behavior, have I ever put into examining my own dating choices? Or do I just hide behind attraction isn't a choice, which is true, but also maybe not an excuse. Maybe attraction is more malleable than I want to admit. Maybe I have more agency in who I'm attracted to than I've been pretending. Maybe I've been letting myself off the hook. I close my laptop. I can't work on this paper right now. My phone buzzes. It's my friend Rachel, asking if I want to go out tonight. There's a party. I know exactly what will happen if I go. I'll probably end up talking to some guy who's moderately attractive and emotionally distant, who gives me just enough attention to keep me interested, but not enough to feel secure. I'll get his Instagram, we'll start a situationship. I'll complain to my friends about him for 3 months, all while there will probably be multiple Daniel-type guys at the party, who I won't even notice, who will try to have genuine conversations that I'll find boring, who I'll accept drinks from and then friend zone. The pattern is so clear I can see it before it even happens. I tell Rachel I'm not feeling well, going to stay in. She sends back a sad emoji and says, "Feel better." I sit in the coffee shop as it gets dark outside, watching people come and go. Couples on dates, groups of friends, people alone with laptops like me. Notice a guy sitting by himself in the corner. Average looking, reading a book, occasionally looking up at the door, probably waiting for someone, or maybe working up the courage to approach someone, or maybe just existing in public while single. I would never have noticed him before today. Now, I can't stop noticing how invisible he is to every woman who walks in, how they scan the room and their eyes pass over him without stopping. He's not ugly, he's just normal, and normal is apparently invisible. I think about all the discourse I've participated in, about how women are objectified and reduced to their appearance, about how unfair beauty standards are, about how we're more than our bodies, all true. But then what are we doing to men who are average looking? We're making them invisible. We're reducing them to their height, their jawline, their photos. We're holding them to beauty standards and then calling them entitled when they point it out. The cognitive dissonance is making my head hurt. I pack up my stuff and walk home. My roommate is there with her boyfriend who forgot her birthday last month, who still has Tinder on his phone as a joke, who talks over her constantly. She's complained about him to me a dozen times. I've told her she deserves better. She agrees and then does nothing about it. Meanwhile, there's a guy in her study group who clearly likes her, who remembers everything she says, who goes out of his way to be helpful. She calls him her work husband in a friend zone way, says he's so sweet but like a brother. I see it now, see the pattern playing out in real time. I want to say something, but what would I even say? That I just had my worldview shattered by a calm conversation, that everything we say we want isn't what we actually choose, that we're participating in the same systems we claim to be victims of. She'd think I'd lost my mind. Or worse, she'd think I was blaming women, which I'm not. Or I'm trying not to. But I'm definitely implicating us in a way I never have before. I go to my room and lie on my bed, scroll through my dating apps, look at the guys I've swiped left on, really look at them. So many normal-looking guys with regular jobs and hobbies, guys who probably worked hard on their profiles, who probably agonized over which photos to use, who are probably getting 0 matches. I've been contributing to that. Every left swipe is me telling someone they're not good enough, which is my right. I don't owe anyone a match. But collectively, millions of women doing this creates the reality Daniel described. Then I look at who I've swiped right on. Guys who look like they have tons of options. Guys whose profiles are minimal effort because they don't need to try. Guys who I knew, even in the moment of swiping, probably wouldn't message back. But I swiped right anyway, because of the possibility. Because getting attention from someone like that feels validating. I feel gross, not because I've done anything wrong individually, but because I'm part of a system I didn't even know I was participating in. I think about Daniel's question, do I believe his lived experience the way I'd believe a woman's? I've spent years saying, believe women, saying that lived experience is valid, that if someone says something is happening to them, they're the expert on their own experience. Do I believe Daniel? The answer has to be yes. His experience is too detailed, too consistent, too verifiable. I can literally see evidence of it in my own behavior. So if I believe him, what do I do with that information? I can't just go back to my paper and ignore this. I can't go back to my activism and pretend I didn't hear him. But I also don't know how to incorporate this without feeling like I'm betraying feminism, even thinking that reveals something. Why would believing men's experiences about dating betray feminism? Feminism is supposed to be about equality, about examining gender dynamics from all angles. But I've been using it selectively, using it to understand women's struggles and dismiss men's. That's not equality. That's just advocacy for my own interests. I feel like I'm having a crisis. Everything I've built my identity around feels shaky. I'm the person who speaks up, who calls things out, who's on the right side. But what if I've been wrong about this? What if my confidence in my own righteousness has made me blind? I think about how I would have reacted if someone else told me what Daniel told me, if I'd read it online instead of hearing it in person. I probably would have dismissed it. I would have said it sounds like nice guy entitlement, would have pointed out that women don't owe men anything, would have found reasons why his experience wasn't valid or was his own fault. But I couldn't do that in person. Couldn't dismiss Daniel because he's not a straw man. He's a real person, I know, and respect, who was vulnerable with me in a way that clearly took courage, who wasn't asking for anything except to be heard. And I heard him, and now I can't unhear it. I get up and look at myself in the mirror, feel like I should look different somehow. Like this. Realization should be visible on my face, but I look the same. Same person who woke up this morning, confident in her understanding of the world, now completely shaken. I grab my phone and start typing out a text to Daniel. Want to thank him for his honesty. Want to apologize for never considering his perspective before. I want to tell him I'm thinking about everything differently now. I type and delete like 5 different versions. Everything sounds wrong. Either too defensive or too apologetic. Either dismissing his point or making it about me. Finally just send, "Thank you for trusting me with that conversation. You gave me a lot to think about." He responds a few minutes later, "Thank you for listening. That's all I wanted." Such a simple exchange, but it feels huge. I lie back down and stare at the ceiling. Think about all the conversations I need to have now. With myself about my dating choices. With my friends about the patterns we enable. With my roommate about her boyfriend. With the broader feminist community about blind spots. But I don't know how to have any of those conversations. Don't know how to say, I think we might be wrong about some things, without it being weaponized. Don't know how to acknowledge men's experiences without it being used to dismiss women's. The discourse is so polarized. Either you're on women's side completely or you're a traitor. Nuance gets you attacked from all sides. But Daniel wasn't asking for me to choose a side. He was asking me to see the full picture. To hold multiple truths at once. Women face real harassment and danger in dating, and kind men face systematic invisibility and rejection. Both things are true. Both things matter. Acknowledging one doesn't erase the other. I feel exhausted. This kind of paradigm shift is legitimately tiring. Having your worldview challenged is uncomfortable, even when it's done gently. Even when the person is right. Maybe especially then. I pick up my laptop and open my paper again. Read through it with new eyes. It's not wrong, but it's incomplete. It's advocacy masquerading as analysis. It's my perspective pretending to be objective truth. I start a new document. I'm not sure what I'm writing yet. Maybe a reflection, maybe a revision, maybe just processing, but I need to get this out. Need to work through what I'm feeling. Start typing about the conversation with Daniel, about the patterns he described, about seeing them in my own behavior, about the discomfort of having my certainty challenged, about the responsibility that comes with awareness. I can't go back to not knowing this, can't unsee the pattern, can't unhear his experience, which means I have to change something, have to examine my own choices differently, have to speak up about this the way I speak up about everything else, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it complicates my politics, even if it makes me less certain of my own righteousness, because that's what intellectual honesty requires. That's what equality actually means, not just advocating for my own interests, but genuinely considering all perspectives, even the ones that challenge me, especially the ones that challenge me. I write for hours, processing, questioning, reconsidering, not coming to any grand conclusions, just sitting with the discomfort, just being honest about what I don't know. The coffee shop conversation replays in my mind. Daniel's calm voice, his specific examples, his resigned sadness, the way he never got angry, never blamed me personally, just asked me to see what he sees. And I finally did. And it changed everything.